Okay, get ready. Welcome to Staying the Course, How to Prepare a Program That Lasts. I'm so glad that you've joined me. My name is Kelsey Carter. I'm a certified teacher of 20 years. I have been a homeschool consultant for families for 15 years, and I've been a homeschool mom. Well, my oldest is now 16, and I'm a homeschool mom of four. Let's just redo the intro and leave that on. Hello, welcome to my video. This is called Staying the Course, How to Prepare a Program That Lasts. I'm Kelsey Carter. I'm a certified teacher of 20 years. For 15 years, I've been a homeschool consultant for families, and I'm a homeschool mom of four. And one of the most common questions that I see online and that I get asked in person is, what curriculum do I use and how should I schedule my day? Well, there's no one right answer to that question. It's going to be different for everyone. So in today's video, we're going to unpack some of the tools and the things that I suggest for families in how to prepare that program that is going to help you avoid burnout. It's going to give you that confidence to know that you're doing what you need to be doing, that you're meeting the needs of your kids, and that they're going to grow up to be confident, healthy, capable, successful human beings. Okay, so we're going to get into this. Now, if you want a chance to be able to ask questions about your situation, be sure to join me live for these videos. We do them via Zoom so that you can get on and ask those burning questions. So if you'd like to know when the next video is going to be recorded and a chance to ask your questions in person with me, comment the word live in the comments and I will send you our schedule and a link to the next live video where you can ask your questions. Now, I'm going to throw a lot of information out at you, and I am going to bring some things up that you might go, whoa, Kelsey, there's no way that I know how to answer those questions. I have no idea where to even begin what you're talking about. Well, the good news is I do one-on-one consulting with families as well. So if you feel like you are just in it, you're in the trenches, you have no idea which way is up in your situation right now, I'd love to work with you. So we're going to jump in. All right, there is no one perfect program for every homeschool family because there are no cookie cutter people. There's no two people who are the same. There are no two families who are the same. So some of the things that we need to consider when we talk about how to prepare a program for our kids. When I'm sitting face to face with a family, some of the things that I want to know about them are, well, first of all, how many kids do you have? What are their ages? Okay. What kind of time constraints do you have? Are you a full-time working parent? Do you have one parent that's devoted solely to being able to do homeschooling during the day? What kinds of other things outside of homeschooling do you have? There are families that, if you have farms, if you have really big into hobbies and you have a lot of other extracurricular kind of activities, we want to be able to work with those. Okay, so what kind of time constraints do you have? What are your students' interests? What are the things that they just go, what lights them up? What excites them? What motivates them? Well, we want to incorporate that. There's no reason to make our kids stuffy and hate learning. We can incorporate that into their homeschool program. And another thing that we want to learn about is what learning style does your child have? And I guarantee you that no two kids are going to have the same ones and learn the exact same ways. Okay, just to make it a little bit more complicated. So these are things that I ask parents. I go, well, how does your children like to learn? What are their interests? What are their passions? As a family, what are your values? What are the things that are most important to you? And I kind of, as I get to know families, get to know their culture. I get to know, and not just ethnic culture, but just family culture. Every family has a culture, and your homeschooling program needs to fit that. And that's why you can't just take somebody else's program and plug it into yours, because it would be like you as a family going and living in somebody else's house. And you can't change the clothing, you can't change the food, you can't change the furniture, you can't change the games that they have, the movies that they watch. You just move into their house and then you try to make it a place where you enjoy living. It's not going to work. So don't try to take somebody else's homeschool program and plug your family into it, because it's not going to work. So let's make one that is unique and tailored just for you. So before we get into each of those areas that I asked the parents, There's something that I want to do. We are going to back the picture way up because parents come to me and they go, okay, this homeschool year right here, what do I do? What program do I pick? What curriculum is the right one? How do I? And there's so many questions. I say, well, it's not that simple. We're not going to just look at this school year. We're going to look at the bigger picture of who are you raising your children to be? Because in the end, that's what we're going for. So if we stay here in this year, in this month, in this little tiny bracket of time, we find that it's really easy to jump next year to a different program, next year to a different program, a different curriculum, a different way of doing things, a different approach, a different style, because we're looking for that something that's going to fit. But actually, what we're missing is our target. So we're so focused on what we're shooting with. Is this the right arrow? Is this the right bow? Are these the right weapons here that we're going to use, the right tools that we're going to shoot our target with? But we actually forget to stop and look at what are we aiming at? What are we trying to hit? What are we aiming for in raising our children? So the first thing we're going to do is step back and go, hang on, I want to see the 30,000-foot view of my children and our family before I get down into the nitty-gritty. Okay, so we're going to look at, and this is something that you will take some time to do. If you're married and you have a spouse, do it with them. Do it as a family too, especially if your children are a little bit older and you haven't done this yet, incorporate them into it. But we're going to look at things like, who do you want your kids to grow up and be like in their friendships? How do you want them to handle their money management? What about faith? Well, if you're a family that has strong faith or you want your kids to grow up in, what are you going to do to cultivate that? What does it look like for you as a mom to step back and go, if you could paint the perfect picture and you could control everything, which of course we can't, okay, so let's not get unrealistic here, but if you could paint the picture of what your kids look like as an adult, what does that look like in their faith? What does it look like in their relationships, their money management, their character, their work ethic, all of those things? We realize that their education is, in terms of their formal schooling, is such a small part of it. And so we don't want to get so lost in the weeds with just picking the perfect curriculum and having just the right program, because actually we want to incorporate and raise the whole person. And we don't want to separate the whole child from their learning. And we don't want to compartmentalize character development from homeschooling, from sports, from faith. We want to incorporate all of that and make that whole person so that when they become an adult, they demonstrate the character, the values throughout all of those things. And it's not just head knowledge that they have, but they have wisdom to be able to apply that in whatever setting they're in. So sit down and think about each of your kids, because they are different. It's not that you have lesser goals for some of your kids and higher, loftier goals for some, but take into account each of your child's unique personalities, their characteristics, that they natural tendencies for giftings and talents and interests, and write down that kind of picture of who do you want them to be in all those areas that matter to you. Okay, relationships, finance, work, their career. And maybe at their age, whether they're young or they're in their teenage years, if they know what they want to be, great, we're going to incorporate that. I knew I wanted to be a teacher at 6 or 7 years old. And so even as a teenager, I did things, I took courses and classes, and I valued things based off of what my goals were. So we want to incorporate that with our kids and let them speak into that as well. So we're going to first get that 30,000-foot view of our children and our family and get this idea of what is the target that we're going for? What are we aiming at with our curriculum? And you can use this really to ask the questions of anything that you do as a family. Well, what sports should we do? Well, as a family, how much time do you want to be spending on the road? How much time do you want to be spending as a family at home? How many meals per week is it important for you to have together? Is it important that you all go to church together on a Sunday morning, or can you go in different directions? Is it important to you? How many home cooked meals is it important for you to have? What health needs do you have? So when you are deciding on co-op or independent, on um, online schooling or by book, all of your questions can come back to, well, what is going to serve the purpose of us hitting that target? I know you won't always get it right. You're going to try something and it's not going to work. And that's okay. Because even in that, you're going to teach your kids resilience, persistence, patience, and even humility to go, you know what, guys, we really tried, but that just didn't work, did it? And that's okay. It's important for kids to learn how to fail as much as they learn how to succeed. Okay. So brainstorm, make a poster on the wall if you need to. Write it out on paper and really think about what are you creating as a family and what are those goals, those visions, that purpose, that target. Okay. Now, what we do once we have that picture, and you kind of have that in mind for your family, for each of your kids, doesn't matter their age, we're going to work backwards. And we're going to go, okay, how do we get from where we are to where we want to be? And because each of your kids are going to be at different ages and stages of their development and their learning, this is going to be an individualized answer to that question. So we're going to work backwards and look at 4 different things. 1, the first thing we're going to do is we're going to look at what do I or you as the parent need in order to feel equipped and empowered to accomplish this. Because let's be real, everything stops there. If you don't feel like, let's say one of your goals is that you want your kids to have really good money management, you want them to know how to invest. Okay, this is one of mine. I want my kids to know how to invest because I never learned. I still don't know how. It's on my I want to get there list, okay? Well, I don't feel particularly then equipped or empowered to be able to teach my children about investment because I don't know it. So what's been on my list is what do I need? Well, I need to have a basic understanding of this. I need to do some research. I need to watch some videos, maybe even take some courses on the introductions to investing so that I can have some sort of foundational knowledge. The next thing I'm going to look at is, well, who can teach my kids well? Because I'm not likely going to be able to teach them very well because I don't know it. But I can find resources for them. I can support them. We can do it together. We can ask questions and we can be interested and invested in it together. Okay. So look at what you feel like you need in order to be successful at accomplishing your goals. And a lot of times we spin out and we get really anxious and overwhelmed because we feel helpless. We feel like we have a great goal in mind. We have a beautiful target on the wall, this gorgeous picture that's painted. We have no idea how to get there. We don't feel capable of getting it. Maybe you don't feel like you have a high enough education. Maybe you dropped out or didn't do well in school. That doesn't have to stop you or your children from getting an excellent education and having a highly successful homeschool experience, okay? But we do have to take real stock and inventory of what do I need? Sometimes it's even just to feel supported. That's where I came in, and I do come in for families as a homeschool teacher consultant where sometimes they just need somebody else to say, yep, you're doing great. Yep, you're right on track. Yes, that's how you do it. And to be able to ask the questions and to kind of troubleshoot some things. Oh, we're stuck here. Do you think this will work? Yeah, I think that's great. Have you thought of doing it this way? Oh, wow, thank you. That's my favorite part is seeing those light bulb moments come on and being able to support families into keeping their values and their family culture intact while they find a way to homeschool. Okay, so sometimes we just feel like we need something else, and that's okay. So take inventory of what you need, maybe what you need to adjust in your life, schedule, time, and maybe you need to start saying no to some things so that you can say yes to the things that are on your target and in your picture that you go, you know what? That's going to get us further. That is more important to me than this little thing here. So we're going to drop this because we're going to pick up something far more important. So remember that your no to something is a yes to something else. So just be intentional about what you say yes and no to in terms of your activities and the things that you decide to do in your homeschool journey. Okay, so we've looked at what do you and I as the parents need in order to feel equipped. Ask those questions, be honest with yourself. You don't do any good, you don't serve any good purpose by thinking that you have to have all the answers and do it right. Okay, you don't. Ask the questions, find the experts, read the books, watch the videos and the podcast, listen to whatever you need to do to feel ready and equipped. And in so doing, you will demonstrate learning to your children in the process. All right, the next question is, what does the child need to get from where they are to where they're going to be? Now, this is a question that you have to revisit every year because as they grow and mature and develop, they're going to have different levels of needs. And they're going to have a different capacity for learning and be able to handle more information as well as more responsibility. So, what does the child need? Take an inventory of where they're at. So if we stick with this example of learning about investing, here's what I've done recently. I have begun opening savings and checking accounts for my kids because if they're going to invest, they have to have a bank account. Now, my son wasn't old enough for a checking account, so his is linked to ours and it's a savings account, but he went into the bank and he opened it and signed the documents and sat through the whole thing. My 16-year-old, we opened a checking account for her and she's got a debit card and she knows how to check the balance on her app. And so this is the starting place of where does the money go in and out of. Then the next step will be, well, they're going to need somebody who can teach them how to invest money. So that's where I have to do some research and find what's the best program out there that I can find that can teach us, them and me at the same time, that we can do this together where we will feel successful. Now, for some, they might need a little bit more character building, and that's okay. They might need to make some mistakes with their money to really learn the value of it. That's okay. No two kids have to be in the same place at the same time. So simply evaluate where your kids are at and what you think they need in order to get to the next place. And if you misjudge that, if you think that your kid, for example, in writing, is ready to write a paragraph, but when they sit down and you ask them to write one and they don't know what a paragraph is, it's okay to say, I misjudged their skill level. We need to back up. And you can readjust not the goal because you're still there, but the objective for that lesson. And go, we need to back this up and go, we got to take this into smaller chunks. And in a sense, it's your big goal hasn't changed, but your smaller goals along the way might need to adjust as you get to know your kids' pace for learning and their pace for growth and development. So be flexible and don't be hard on yourself if you misjudge and you go, oh, we need to spend a little bit more time back here at this level so that we can really develop the strong understanding and skill that they need in order to go to the next one. That's the beauty of being able to homeschool and not be in a public school environment where they're going to get past whether they've really demonstrated their learning or not. And you can take the time in any subject area to develop the skills that they might be lacking. And don't get caught in the narrative of they should. Well, they should be able to do this by now, and they should be reading at this level, and they should know this, and they should know that. But they don't. So if we get caught in what we feel they should, it's a judgment on the school or it's a judgment on the kid, they're going to feel that. And they're going to feel like a failure because they've already either let you down or they've already failed at learning what they need to know. So drop the should statements and ask questions. Well, what do you know? Can you tell me about how to add fractions? And if you're not sure, just say, you know what? I just want to find out what you know and what you don't know. Find free worksheets online, do some online assessments, and let them know, you know what? I just want to know what you know. So this isn't a test to tell me how smart you are. This isn't a test to evaluate you as a student. This is just so that I know in math, where do we need to start? You might have a child that you've pulled out of public school, and maybe they were in fourth grade. You pulled them out, they're starting fifth grade. And so you get the fifth grade curriculum. They sit down with it and they go, I've never seen this before. I have no idea what to do. And they throw a big fit and a temper tantrum because they feel defeated. They feel helpless. Okay. That's not the time to go, well, you're in fifth grade. You should know how to do this by now. That doesn't help anybody. Okay. So you go, oh man, I'm so sorry that you haven't learned that. That's okay. We're going to figure out what you do know and take some time. Now, most I will say on math curriculum, almost all of them that I've seen have an assessment that you can take to determine what level to get them. And a lot of homeschool curriculums now don't put a grade level on it. They might have A, B, C, D, or 1, 2, 3, 4, but it's not a grade because a lot of kids aren't at grade. Like, what is fifth grade? It's going to vary by state, to be honest. So it's okay for your child to not be at grade level. Doesn't matter. So take the time to assess their skill and their ability in each of the main subject areas. I would say reading, writing, and math. Those are going to be your main areas that you're going to want to evaluate where they're at. Okay, and again, if you need help with that, you can reach out to somebody like me, a certified teacher, who can help you assess your child's abilities and where they're at and how to get to the next place. Okay, so after we have first asked ourselves, what do I need in order to hit that target? We look at what does my child need in order to hit that target? Now we're going to look at kind of outside of us in a specific homeschooling topic, okay, in an area specific to homeschooling, because you can apply the what does your child need to things that aren't academic. It might be their character development, their friendship development, their music, their art, their anything, sports. That's a good question to be able to ask is what do they need? So we're going to go outside of that and we're going to go into something specific for homeschooling. And that is, what does your state require? Okay, every state has laws about education and homeschooling. And if you are outside of the United States, your country has laws. And so you need to know those because that will impact and determine some of these things that you're going to pick as your curriculum in your program. For example, Washington State has 11 core subjects that are required. Now, there's some interpretation of what that means. Explained to me by the people who helped write those laws is that those 11 core subjects should be taught every year, but they don't have to be taught every day. So, for example, you might do reading, writing, math, and spelling. So they kind of have it broken up into like language art, just kind of broken up into different things. But you do kind of those main core ones, but then you might do history one day and science the next, and you alternate that. Or you do a history unit and you do a science unit. You do an art unit and a music unit. There's occupational ed. There's several things. You don't have to do them every day, but what we want to look at is exposing them to those things throughout the years. And as they grow, you might spend more time in some subjects than the other. Okay, so take a look at your requirements for your state. Again, Washington State requires 180 days and 1,000 hours. How does that break down? It could be weekends. It could be the summer. There is no set time that has to be done in. It's not like, oh, they can only be Monday through Friday. Nope, you can do it any 7 days a week. And if you want to do it all in a row, get it done all in a row. That's the requirement. So look those up for your state or your country. And you're going to have those in front of you to go, how can we meet this? Okay. All right. Now we ask the big question, how do we get there? Okay. We've got this target. We've established what I need. We've looked at what the kids need, where they're at, your starting point. Okay. Think about your journey. This is your starting point. Whether it's for this year or for their life, you are at a starting point. And set some realistic goals for your school year. How far are you going to get in this journey, this either academic year or the calendar year, however you want to measure your time, doesn't matter. Have a realistic idea of how far you're going to get, and you can always adjust the pace and you can always move that if needed, but you do want to have some sort of target. Again, if If you need help setting what's a realistic and achievable pace and goals for that, let me know. Reach out to me. I'd love to help you set those. Because honestly, this is the most important part of the whole thing. Because once you get to the next one, the how do we get there, the what curriculum do I buy, now you have narrowed down what is important for them to learn based off of their needs, their interests, their abilities, your family culture, your family values, your time commitment, your budget. I forgot to talk about that earlier, but yeah, to consider your budget in all of that. Okay. Well, now you've narrowed down a lot of things. And you might go, online is completely out of the question. Great. Then don't look at any online ones. If you're like, nope, we need just online. Great. Now you're going to look at only online. So now you're evaluating curriculum, not just is it good, because there's a lot of good curriculum, but what works for one family might not work for another, and what works for one student might not work for another. So those learning styles really come in here. And this is where those learning styles are important to understand, as well as your child's age and development. How long can they sit for? And again, drop the shoulds, because just because they're 9 or 10 years old doesn't mean, especially if they've been in the public school or not in the public school or wherever, that they are ready for a 45-minute lesson. So you have to find out where your child's at and work with them there and build up. And those can be some of the goals that you set of, the work ethic and the character of let's persevere and let's persist and let's, move into going from you can only sit for 10 minutes to now we can sit for 20 and now we can sit for 30. Okay. But you need to consider all that. So when you're looking at your curriculum, well, how much sitting time is required? How much reading is required? How much writing is required? Does this seem like it's going to meet? Does this have hands-on, tactile things that can help my child learn? Does it have videos that go along with it? Is it engaging? Does it incorporate art and music into the history? All of those things, you're looking for what's going to meet your goals. So it doesn't matter what the next door neighbor homeschooling family picked. Maybe they've got great suggestions and something you can use, but it's okay to pick something different. You have the freedom and permission to create a completely unique program just for you and around your children. So I'm not going to sit here and recommend curriculum because there's always new ones coming out. But the one resource that I am going to recommend is Kathy Duffy Reviews. This website has saved me countless hours of research. It's a fabulous resource for parents. This website, she goes through, there's hundreds and hundreds of different curriculums on here for every subject and every grade level. I'm pretty sure it's preschool through 12th grade. So you can look up by subject and by level the different curriculums that are recommended, and they have like their top recommended ones and why. So it's a huge, a very well done, detailed explanation of why they, it's not even why they like or dislike. It's actually not that subjective. What they do is they write out pros and cons. They write out just an objective overview, a summary of the program, who it's designed for, what kind of learning it's going to meet, all that. It's fantastic. And so I always tell parents, start there. You can talk to other homeschool parents. In person is always better, especially if you can see the books. The online Facebook homeschool groups can be good resources, but they can also be overwhelming because if you ask the question, what's your favorite history curriculum for 5th grade? You could have 100 people give 100 different answers and it still doesn't help you because now you have 100 different curriculums that you have to go and research. And you still don't know if they're going to work for you because your kids are different than their kids. So you're going to keep your goals, your needs, your child's interests, their learning style, their age and development in front of you while you look for a curriculum. Wow, something in my eye. All right, so we've covered a lot. So I want to summarize this. First, There is no one right curriculum. And what's going to work from year to year might change as your child ages, as their skills develop, as their personality even develops, their interests. So keep that in mind that you might need to reevaluate. I had a math curriculum that I loved for years and it worked to about a certain level. And then I was like, nope, we're going to go on to the next one. And it's okay to do that. In fact, this year I've gone to online homeschooling because of our family circumstances, time, and all of these things, whereas before I'd only done books. I had to adjust, and it's okay to do that. Um, so there's no one right answer. You're going to paint that beautiful picture of what you want to develop your kids to be, what you want to champion them towards, and then you're going to look at how do I do that? First, take inventory of yourself and what you need. Then take inventory of your child's development and their needs. Then for homeschooling, you're going to look at what your state requires. Then you can ask the question, what curriculum is going to best meet all of those needs? And once you get there, it's going to narrow those options down quite a bit. And you will be able to confidently select the one for you because it's going to support your family values, your family culture, your rhythm, your schedule, your budget. It's going to meet your kids' learning needs and it's going to meet their interests. That's going to narrow things down a lot. And from there, you can have the confidence that when somebody else says, oh, I didn't like that curriculum you got, oh, no, I'd never use that. Great. That's okay because you're not raising their kids and they're not raising yours. So you can have that confidence and that peace to know that you are doing the right thing and that it's okay to take a moment and reevaluate and ask those questions. Is this still working from year to year and even from subject to subject? You might not get the big box curriculum because it might not work it might be a great history program, but their math doesn't work for your child's learning needs. And that's okay. Pick it apart, get the history, get the math separate. It's okay. You will learn as you go through what publishers create really good book lists, really great resources and helpful things for parents and for children. So keep asking those questions, keep doing the research, but you are a powerful woman, or maybe you're man, maybe you're a homeschool father watching this, that you know your child the best, you know them the most, trust your instincts, and it's okay to make those decisions for yourself, what your family needs, and it doesn't have to match anybody else's program. Get your inspirations, get your encouragement, but I want you to be empowered and encouraged to find your way for your family. And again, I'm here. Message or put in the comments live if you'd like to know when our next live video is that you can ask your questions, or you can go to my website, which will be listed down below in the information, for requesting an individual one-on-one consultation for homeschooling. So I hope that helps answer your questions. And if you have any other questions you would love to see a webinar done on, you can send those in the comment as well. I'd love to hear from you. Thanks for watching.